Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Troy, your host. We are live and recording.
Thank you, Troy. Before we begin and call to order, we'll do our invocation. We do not have a member of the faith-based community here with us, so we will just commence with a moment of silence, if you'll bow your heads. Okay, thank you very much. It is Tuesday, June 14th, 2022, and I will call this meeting to order of the Board of County Commissioners business meeting. If you all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Attorney Ingalls, do we have certification of the agenda today?
We do, Mr. Chair. My office has reviewed all items on today's agenda, and they all meet legal approval.
Okay, and do any commissioners have any disclosures for items on this agenda today?
I have none, thank you.
No, sir.
And I have none either. With that, we will move into a very important employee recognition. Today we are recognizing a very significant individual in our community, who our Douglas County family, really, who has served us for 15 years. Doug DeBoard.
Yeah, it's our pleasure today to recognize Terrence Quinn for 15 years of service. So if I could ask Terrence to come up, as well as Katie, Steve, and Jen. Terrence, it's been, we were reminiscing a little bit earlier, just been a remarkable ride of growing and keeping his team and all the accomplishments that the board does well. But I know I'd like to start with Steve Schultz, who'd like to say a few words, and we're going to share speaking about him.
Thank you, Doug. Good afternoon, Commissioners. We're here to celebrate a wonderful leader's 15 years here in Douglas County. We, as the assistant directors, have all prepared a characteristic or attribute to kind of talk to you about, short and sweet, to the point, Terrence style. So what you might not, it says 15 years. He's the assistant director, or he's the director. I'm the assistant director. The director of community development.
You're doing good, Steve.
Whoa. But what you don't know, some of you might not know, is he's also the basis for the regionally acclaimed Trouble Bound band. So what we've done is we've linked a attribute of his that has impacted us, and then also linked that to one of the 10 commandments of basis, playing the bass. So without further ado, I'm batting lead off here. So the first one is, as he's been a part of our division, culture has been a huge part of what we do. And through our culture, judgment is something that we try to make sure that everybody is on point with, and that's through a county perspective. So Terrence, one of the things that he brought to us was making sure that you take into account Douglas County as you're making your day-to-day decisions throughout the day. And the second part of that is to never put the county at risk. So that's something that we instill in all of our staff, from tenured folks all the way down to seasonal employees. So and with that, I'd like to read commandment number 3, is be thou not swayed by a drummer with bad time, for thou is the keeper of the beat.
You got that right, man. That's good.
So, commandment the first, thou shalt not mess up the groove. Mess up the notes if thou must, but never the groove. And for us, the groove is the process. We are warriors for the groove. Terrence is warrior for the groove and for the process. It could be a waltz, it's a power ballad, it could be just a straightforward rocker, but you need a groove to keep it moving. It could be a lot line adjustment, it could be a rezoning for 3,000 acres. That process, that groove, is what's important, so that when we bring things before this board, we're bringing you something quality, and hopefully you can dance to it. So Terrence is our keeper of the groove. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jen.
So When I first started working with Terrence, one of the first projects that I did was the Human Needs Summit. And Terrence brought his planning, he was the manager of long-range planning at the time, brought his team in to facilitate all the table discussions about that. And I think for both of us, one of the things that that event did was left an impression on us that we have a community of partners. We had a room full of partners, and they were driven to meet the needs. What they needed and what they came for really was to understand what resources were there to make that happen and what could we do to make that happen. So in 2009, when Terrence became the director, based on the potential we saw at that summit, we started working on creating a service model that would support the county being able to provide those resources, right? Funding, collaboration, technology, technical assistance, all of those types of things. And then over the years, through Terrence's guidance and leadership, we were able to develop a lot of programs with our partners to be able to increase those services. And I have seen Terrence use that same model for the last 13 years as the director of the department. He supports his staff. He is consistently providing support to build our staff capacity. He does that with training. He does that with guidance, his mentorship, and we know he has our back. So not unlike base commandment number 10, which is, thou shalt tune thy bass before each and every gig, even though it was in tune the last time you put it away. So Terrence provides that continuous support to build the capacity so staff is ready for every gig that comes our way.
And I get to end with commandment number 4. Be not led into temptation before the gig, after is cool. So this really lends to what we hear Doug talk about a lot, which is a servant's heart. And I think from what you've heard today and what you've seen from Terrence is that he's the epitome of a servant's heart for his staff, for the county, for everybody around him. And if we had 1/10 the amount of servant heart that he did, we'd call ourselves lucky. So with that, I want to thank you for being our director, and it's an honor to work for you.
Terrence, would you like to say a few words?
May I say some things now? I'm extraordinarily proud of them. They got it all right. That was very good. Lollipops for everyone later on. Commissioners, one thing that this time I've spent here has shown me is that this is the most demeaning, frustrating, and oftentimes exhausting job, yet at the same time it's the most rewarding, interesting, and exciting thing a person could do for a career. And when you take all the ins and outs and ups and downs and backwards and forwards and shake it up, you get a really great career cocktail. So thank you very much for that opportunity to serve, because it is a fine experience that I've had. I've had an opportunity to work with a lot of different boards, including this one, but there have been many over the past 15 years. And the one thing I've learned about the Douglas County boards is that they are on the cutting edge of the issues and challenges that face local government today. This often leaves me breathless and also a little bit amazed at all the things that you've been able to accomplish and the boards before you have been able to accomplish. Also, it is a great honor to work for what I believe is the greatest county in the state. Anything we can do, I can do to help with governance of this county and providing the services that everyone needs, I'm on board for it. I also wanted to thank Doug for some of your guidance and your assistance over the years. I think I'm a better planner and a better, better fellow planner, but also a better manager for all the guidance you've given me. You took a big chance on me, and I hopefully haven't let you down or disappointed you, but it's been a great run, so thank you for the opportunity to serve. I also wanted to thank Lance. He's always looking over my shoulder, making sure I don't walk into any land use minefields, and that's what our land use regulations and processing is all about. So when I can come out of the back end of a process with my back end intact, I'm thanking you, Lance. I was going to thank John Huber, but everybody thanks him already, so we'll just leave that go for right now. The last thing I wanted to say was I've had the great fortune of working with an awesome team over the past 15 years. They are truly motivated, proactive professionals that flex to the needs of the county by building capacity and capability in everything they do. So any challenge that comes our way, they're ready to face it. And I think they've demonstrated that time and again. I'm extraordinarily proud of them. You see many of them in the audience here today. Amazing bunch of folks. And I think that I attribute a lot of my success, if I have any success, to them. Their success and their efforts are what lead us to this point. So I know you have an agenda today. I wanted to thank you for all the years and the opportunity to serve and the work. It's been one hell of a ride. Worthwhile, but one hell of a ride. Thank you.
Terrence, thank you for that. And don't go too far. The commissioners have some comments for you, so let me continue this acknowledgement by opening it up for comments from the Board of County Commissioners.
I don't have anything nice to say about Terrence like you guys do, other than, actually, hey, maybe I do have something nice to say. I have learned to appreciate the directors that we have in the county as partners. And I do believe you've been a great partner, TQ, so thank you so much. Thanks for taking my calls with my zany idea. And I don't know if you were trying to talk me out of it. Sometimes it felt like you were trying to talk me out of it. And then other times I was really surprised when you were like, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So I appreciate all those times, and thanks for being a partner for the people of Douglas County.
You know, Terrence, I'd like to thank you for everything that you have given of yourself to this county. I remember when I came on board in 2016, sitting in one of your conference rooms with your notebook, explaining to me what land use was, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh. And you told me, Commissioner, anytime you have a question, call us, and we'll walk you through it, and you have all done that. And sitting here, looking through the audience, I see so many leaders that Terrence has grown. You know, Steve, you've taken over parks, and that's a huge operation with not a lot of people, but I attribute your success to this guy right here. Dan Dirtz has just taken on a new responsibility, and that's because you gave him the opportunity to grow and to learn by watching you what it takes to be a great leader. You know, just think back, was it 2 years ago, when we went through COVID and we had all this CARES money coming in, and somehow you and your team figured out how to distribute that money in as fairly a possible process. And how you did that, I have no idea, but you did it. And the year before that, when we had STEM, we came up with this idea of $10 million for schools. And we had 2 committees, and your people were staffing those committees. And Tina Dill was keeping track of all those expenditures and grants, and now Luke is doing that. And there are so many people that have come and gone in the almost 6 years I've been working with all of you. But I see Terrence's fingerprint on so many of you because you have listened to this guy as he has mentored you. So I would like to thank you on behalf of the citizens of Douglas County for what you've done. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Quinn, I think Ma Quinn would be very proud, and I hope she has an opportunity to share in this acknowledgement with you. My journey as a commissioner over the last 4 years has only been augmented and supported and encouraged by the teamwork I've been able to have with you. I can't tell you how many times I've had those conversations with you in our one-on-ones or in your office or just in passing where it's, Commissioner, we can get that done, and we'll figure out a way. We'll find a way. We'll figure out a way. You recognize, you listen, you understand where we're at, and then you implement. I came to the county through the Planning Commission, and so I have a bit of a bias because community development is really where I got my start. And as a land use attorney, I think you come in thinking you know a few things, and I remember Jeanette Baer from your staff was saying, well, there's a whole lot to learn. And I think that was a very humble way of, a very gracious way of saying that it's a journey to understand what community development really is, what land use looks like on a county level. And you have done that in such a significant way. You have left a legacy of greatness in this county. We are the healthiest county in the country, over 20,000. We're one of the most safe. We have so many attributes that cause people to want to come to Douglas County to live here and work. And a lot of that has to do with your leadership over the last 15 years. I'm really impressed by the comments from your team, because a leader's only as good as the team that's supporting that leader, and the confidence and support and care that your team has for you and vice versa is really significant. I didn't realize there was a whole 10 or more commandments associated with playing the bass, but you're also a race car driver. So I imagine there's probably a series of commandments around that as well. But I love the notion of even when you got a bad drummer, you got to continue to play that beat, stay in the groove, and you've done that so well through all the ups and downs that you've seen in the county. So we do have a bit of an acknowledgement for you for 15 years of service, but let's all give Terrence Quinn a huge round of applause for his service. So Terrence, we do have a plaque for you, and if it's okay with you, we'd like to come down with your team and take a photo with you. All right.
You're going to take a photo?
So this is quite a interesting
let's go ahead and
picture posture.
All right, then the count of three. 1, 2, 3. And then all right, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And one more time. 1, 2. Thank you.
Have been known to give the famous boxes with the boxes.
I put some in the drawers and they disappeared.
So thank you, everyone. We're now going to move to another special moment in our agenda today, recognizing the Douglas County Transportation Partners and Senior Services. Allison Cutting.
Thank you very much. All right, well, thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm Allison Cutting, representing staff. I want to give you a little bit of a background on the transportation and senior services that Douglas County provides. Two of our Primary sources of funding are from the Denver Regional Council of Governments, or DRCOG, and the Regional Transportation District, RTD. Our older adult services include chore, personal care, homemaker, and reassurance calls. And through partnerships with local area providers, many of whom are here today, Douglas County is able to leverage county match contributions of $49,905 in cash and $38,588 in kind to $488,426 in program support through these grants. And these programs provide more than 15,200 units of services for our older adults. And funding from DRCOG and RTD totaled more than $1.146 million to provide transportation to seniors and people with disabilities and other vulnerable adults. Douglas County contributions of $37,000, along with our partner contributions of $153,000. With these contributions, these funds are able to provide more than $1.337 million of services. And these funds are used to offer more than 24,000 one-way trips, help provider organizations purchase vehicles for meeting and expanding services, support mobility management operations, and the Douglas County First Call, where citizens can call for assistance to arrange for transportation and other senior services needs. Through leveraging county cash match and partner contributions with grant funding, for every dollar spent, Douglas County residents are able to gain $14.50 in benefits for transportation and services, senior services programs. And our provider organizations that are here today allow Douglas County older adults, people with disabilities, and other vulnerable residents to continue to thrive and contribute to our community. And we'd like to recognize those that are here today, which are Aging Resources, Castle Rock Senior Activity Center, MANA Resource Center. Aaron White, unfortunately, is out today to the rescue, and Visiting Angels. And I believe you have some letters of appreciation.
Allison, we do. If the Board of County Commissioners would join me down in front of the dais, we'll present those letters of appreciation.
Well, it is my pleasure to hand this one out. And by the way, thank God for the large writing, whoever did that. Castle Rock Senior Activity Center.
I have Visiting Angels.
Aging Resources of Douglas
And finally, I have to the rescue.
We should have just told you guys to stand.
All right, hang on, 3, 1, 2, 3. And one more, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3. Cool, thank you, everyone.
Good work.
Okay, thank you very much. So with that, we will move into our next item on the agenda, which is citizen comment, organization comments. At this time, you are welcome to comment about any topic other than what is scheduled on today's regular agenda. You will be prompted to connect and comment on those items at the appropriate time. This is an opportunity to share your thoughts and ideas with the Board of County Commissioners. Please state your name and address prior to making comments. You will have up to 3 minutes. Commissioner comments, if any, will follow all citizen comments. Do we have any citizen comments in the room today? Okay. Troy, do we have any citizen comment online?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. I have Len Witten. Len, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Thank you. This is Len Witten from Highlands Ranch. I just have 2 quick comments relating
And Len,
to
if you're,
yesterday's...
I hate to interrupt you, but if you could just state your address for the record, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought Highlands Ranch was good enough. 2773 Rockbridge Drive in Highlands Ranch. My 2 quick comments relating to yesterday's working meeting. At that meeting, wildfire mitigation was discussed, which I really applaud that initiative. I was concerned, though, when Commissioner Thomas stated that she would rather that the proposed 75%, 25% funding be changed to 50-50. That's a pretty dramatic change and seemingly pulled out of thin air with the idea that it would somehow make the funding go further. My concern is that this is an assumption rather than a studied effect. It may be more probably that less landowners would be able to take advantage of the program at that percentage and put more of our county at risk. I therefore just ask that the funding proportion be properly studied and not just spitballed. That was number 1. Secondly, the Daniels Park concealed carry weapons was on the agenda, but when the item came up for discussion, Commissioner Teal, who had originally stated that he wanted to seize Daniels Park by eminent domain in retaliation for Denver prohibiting concealed carry in city buildings and parks, instead asked that it be discussed in executive session. No reason was stated, but when the meeting resumed, no mention of concealed carry was made. I asked that the reason for the executive session be stated and that citizens be made aware of what was discussed in terms of seizing other city property and why this board could possibly think that concealed carry is so important that we are willing to seize property. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Witten. And I feel left out. You didn't mention anything about me. Do we have any additional online comment, Troy?
I have no other online comment.
Okay. I'll close citizen comment at this time and open it up for any commissioner comment regarding citizen comment.
It would probably be just good to mention briefly, and of course, I do invite concurrence or disagreement with this statement from my colleagues as well as the county attorney. But yeah, the executive session yesterday was for the purposes of receiving legal advice, which is an accepted topic for executive session under the Colorado Open Meetings laws.
Additional commissioner comment? You know, I have just a couple of comments, mostly because we just got out of our Douglas County Wildfire Initiative meeting, and we had a conversation around the concept presented by Steve and Jill and others on that team from an expert-driven perspective, both in open space, buildings, our Forest Service, and fire professionals, regarding the opportunity for the Board of County Commissioners to encourage mitigation of their lands if the county provided a 75-25 match. In other words, if a landowner in Douglas County with particularly large portions of land was willing to mitigate their property for wildfires, that the county would provide 75% of that funding, potentially through an ARPA grant or other sources of dedicated funding, and then the individual property owner would provide 25%. We did have some discussion during our work session around adjusting that number 50-50. I will say that in our conversation this afternoon, the entire wildfire initiative was very adamant that 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 number should remain 75-25. And the reason for that is primarily because it incentivizes property owners that particularly might be land rich, but not necessarily cash rich. We want to ensure that individuals that have a lot of potential kindling in our county have that incentive to mitigate their properties appropriately. And I was very thankful that we had a comment from Scott McEldowney from Open Space that maybe even an in-kind form of contribution to equivocate to that 25% might be helpful. We have heard from Mike Alexander, one of our Office of Emergency Management directors, that 1 square mile in Douglas County represents about $110 million of property. So that small investment in mitigation can be really significant when we think about property values. So I know, at least from a wildfire initiative standpoint, their desire is to remain at 75-25, but well taken comment from Mr. Whitman that will require additional study. Any other commissioner comments? Okay, with that, we will move into our next item on our regular agenda for today, which is our consent agenda. And let me begin. I'll first ask if there's any citizen comment, either in person or online, regarding our consent agenda.
This is Troy. I have no online comment for consent.
Okay, so I'll close citizen comment on the consent agenda and open it up to the board for any further discussion or a motion.
I have a motion to approve the request in all items A through AD of the consent agenda.
Second.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that carries 3-0. We'll now move to our item 4 on the regular agenda, which is a resolution and an intergovernmental agreement between the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas and the State of Colorado Department of Transportation regarding financial contribution toward construction of the County Line Road project, Douglas County project number CI 2020-013. And we have Benjamin Pierce presenting for staff. Hi, Benjamin.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for having me. So, as you just mentioned, I'm here to talk about the resolution, a proposed resolution in IGA between Douglas County and CDOT regarding financial contribution towards the County Line Road widening project. And again, my name is Ben Pierce, and I'm with the Department of Public Works Engineering Capital Improvements Group and project manager for this project. So to start, let's do just a brief recap. I know I've talked to you all before about this particular project, but just to refresh everyone's memory. So this is a capital improvements project here in Douglas County with local agency partners, and the main goal is to widen County Line Road from University to Broadway up in kind of north central Douglas County, right along the county line with Arapahoe County. Major improvements included as part of this project are, roadway widening to have 2 lanes in each direction, whereas right now it's only 1 lane in each direction. And overall, the goal is to improve traffic safety and traffic operations, because this is somewhat of a bottleneck for people traveling both westbound and even to an extent eastbound on County Line Road. So the typical section of the roadway will match basically what is on County Line Road east of University, and so there'll be a raised median, 2 lanes in each direction, and turn lanes as appropriate. So a couple other highlights about the project. There's going to be a new traffic signal located at Clarkson Street and County Line Road, and then the signal at the Target access will be replaced with a permanent signal that will require less maintenance and improve traffic operations. So a little bit of background on this intergovernmental agreement. The project funding partners include Colorado Department of Transportation and Denver Regional Council of Governments, Douglas County, City of Littleton, and City of Centennial. Douglas County is executing or proposed to execute this IGA with CDOT to receive all project federal funding. And the reason for that is because Douglas County will be administering the contractor selection process and overseeing the project construction. And construction of this project is anticipated to begin in early 2023, pending the necessary right-of-way acquisitions to finalize the project design. And a breakdown of the funding included in the IGA. So in 2019, the Denver Regional Council of Governments Transportation Improvement Program selected the project for $10 million of federal funding. And more recently, Arapahoe County provided additional waitlist funds from their sub-region forum at DRCOG in order to add to this project as part of Centennial's contribution. And additionally, Douglas County received $180,000 of Highway Safety Improvement Program, or HSIP funds, for the project. And that's really about safety at the location of Clarkson and County Line Road to put in that new signal there. So with the DRCOG funding of $10 million, the additional about $2.4 million from the Arapahoe County waitlist funds and $180,000 for HSIP funding, the total funding received is just a little bit over $12.5 million. So along with, as is usual with federal funding, there is a local match required. And so the local match totals a little over $3.1 million. And so it's a 20% local match for the TIP funding and a 10% local match for the HSIP funding. So if you add all those together, the total budgeted funds per the IGA is $15,702,500 for this project. And as a note, the local agencies are responsible for all costs over the total budgeted funds. So I'll talk a little bit more about the rest of the project funding. So the numbers here are based on the original estimated project cost of $20 million that was included in the TIP application in 2019, for which Douglas County, Centennial, and Littleton were granted $10 million. So to make that $20 million whole, the city of Littleton is planning on putting in $1 million. The city of Centennial is going to be putting in an additional $2 million and $98,000. And so that basically shows that the $2.4 million from the waitlist funds comes out of Centennial's contribution. And then Douglas County's contribution is intended to be about $4.32 million. And so that takes out the extra $180,000 of HSIP funds. So, and a note from Art when I was going through this with him, he wanted me to let everyone know that the amount presently available to Douglas County is approximately $5.63 million, with an additional $2.5 million needed to be set aside as part of the 2023 CIP budget in order to make this project whole. So that was the original project cost from 2019 of $20 million. And with the additional, inflation and scarcity of resources and everything that's driving up costs, our project cost is now anticipated to be about $25 million. So the individual contributions from Littleton, Centennial, and Douglas County will go up from the amounts that are listed here, but those I guess the exact funding split has yet to be determined with future IGAs with Littleton and Centennial. But it is intended that City of Centennial and Douglas County will be taking on the share of the additional cost, with Littleton providing maybe a little bit less because their portion of the project is significantly smaller, and it really is mostly a project in Douglas County and City of Centennial. So with that, the staff recommendation is to approve this resolution and IGA between Douglas County and CDOT regarding the financial contribution towards construction of the County Line Road University to Broadway project.
Benjamin, thank you for that presentation. Any questions for Benjamin? Well, you did a great job. I think we are often encouraged by the level of collaboration between our municipal partners, and we consistently hear that it's a real positive to work with county staff. So thank you for your significant role in bringing this to completion. If there are no additional commissioner comments or questions, I'll open this up for any citizen comment, either in person or online.
Thank you, Commissioner. I have no online comment.
Okay, thank you, Troy. And with that, I'll close citizen comment and bring it back to the board for any further discussion and or a motion.
If it pleases the board, I do have a motion to approve a resolution and an intergovernmental agreement between the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Douglas and the State of Colorado Department of Transportation regarding financial contribution toward construction of the County Line Road Project, Douglas County Project Number CI 2020-013.
Second.
So we have a first and second on the floor. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and that motion carries. Thank you, Benjamin.
Thank you very much.
And with that, we'll move to item 5, any new business?
No other business?
And then item 6, our county manager.
Yeah, other than the report, we do have a brief presentation. I'd like to ask Nathaniel Quintana to come up. Nathaniel's a senior project manager in IT and has been leading the extremely successful webpage update, and a great effort, and we wanted to give a brief presentation on that today.
Great. Thank you, Doug. Hi, Nathaniel.
Howdy. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, commissioners. So our new website launched in April this year on the 27th. It was a long journey that started over a year ago. You guys back on April 13th, I believe, in 2021, actually approved the budget to move forward, so we appreciate that. We contracted with our vendor to move forward. As soon as that was signed, we planned and organized dozens of meetings with different departments and other elected officials to ensure that we were meeting the experience of Douglas County and to ensure that that information through those meetings, discussions, reviews were influencing the design and functionality of the website. Some of the new things that you've probably seen on the website is our service finder, as well as service pages, which actually share the different types of services provided and offered by the county from several different departments, removing that lens of departmental type of service, basically serving our users and citizens on the different services provided. We also had several teams to ensure that we were meeting the objectives. We had our executive steering committee made up of several elected officials as well as department chairs. Today's honoree was one of those individuals on that committee, so we appreciate his effort and his contribution. Also, we had a county level experience team. That team was responsible to ensure that we stayed consistent with the message, that we are doing everything that was required for us based on objectives outlined by that steering committee. And then from there, we also reached out to all the different elected officials and departments to ensure we understood and learned their services, their attributes, all the different things that they provide for our citizens of the county so we can move forward. The objectives that we met for this particular project is that we ensured that we had a unified experience out there, that we had an updated website that reflected all that we are as a county. We increased usability for the users out there. We also added accessible aspects to the website for those people who need those type of abilities to use it. The other items that we ensured that we did is to increase our supportability of the website and saving of cost of any kind of future enhancements that may be required. We had over 40 different individuals that were involved in this whole process from the department, representing multiple board departments as well as assessor, clerk and recorder, treasurer, and the coroner. So this was a county-wide effort. We do have a few individuals here today representing these different departments as they are all busy doing great county work. So those individuals that are here today that were a part of this, whether it was a steering committee or involved in some other way with content management or county, can you guys just stand real quick, please? Thank you. So we want to appreciate all the individuals that were involved. Like I said, there was over 40 individuals. They all couldn't make it here today, but we want to say thank you for this county-wide experience and delivery of the website. So thank you.
Well, please join me in a round of applause. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, please. Mr. John Huber, Director of IT.
Pardon me, Commissioners, I'm a little uncomfortable as I don't like to give my back to Terrence.
He's an intelligent man.
But I did
Is
want
it
to
like
spend
the sixth commandment of playing bass or something?
I did want to spend a couple minutes, though, to recognize a couple members of the team. First of all, it was a countywide effort. So many people at the elected officials area, as well as department heads, participating, because this is really important, our face to the community through the internet. Jim Brown is not able to be here today, and he had an instrumental piece of this particular project. So my team knows that I'm going to use some technology terms. I don't like to do that. I kind of teach people not to use technology terms, but Here's the first one, our big toe. So if you remember in the movie Stripes with Bill Murray and others, John Candy, Sergeant Hulka was the big toe for the team. And the big toe is typically the person who's accountable to the success of the team, takes all of the issues and finds the hurdles and finds ways to get over those hurdles. Jim did a terrific job in that particular role. An unsung hero in all the things that Jim does for our community, for the IT department. He's a very quiet guy, and I've spoken more about him today than he's spoken about himself in his entire 35-year career. He's unfortunately, again, not able to be here, but hopefully I'll have embarrassed him enough he can watch it on video. Secondly, Nathaniel. Actually, project management, the role that Nathaniel was in, is a very, very difficult job. So my second technology term is herding cats. And when you have a team of that size with elected officials, department heads, staff, getting them all to agree upon a goal and an objective and work in tune is a very challenging task for someone to do. So we have a kind of an approach in IT around team development, and it's around forming, storming, norming, and performing. So when you're in the forming stage, it's like, being at a dance when you're in, well, Doug would know, like the sock hop when you were a kid, Doug, and all the boys and girls are on the side, and they really don't know what to do because they're just forming. The next step is the storming stage. And that storming stage is when everybody jumps out there and they're kind of, one is doing a line dance and another's doing rolling around on the ground and stepping on each other's toes. So it's total chaos in a project at this phase. And that's where the project manager comes in, and is really that person who takes them and gets them to norm. And that's where you learn your dance rules, your moves, your recitals, and everybody all of a sudden is working in concert. The project has now become something that becomes real. Everybody in the team knows what they're doing, knows what their goals, objectives are, what's their role on it. And then finally, it goes to the performing stage, and that's kind of like a flash mob. All of a sudden, you see this thing on TV, or if you get to witness it, and it's like they choreographed that for years. They've done that since grammar school. And that's what Nathaniel was able to do for us. Just a really terrific job in bringing everybody together and doing an outstanding job in leadership and project management. So I wanted to make sure today my buddy Nathaniel didn't go unnoticed, and what a great job he did in what was a tremendous countywide project. So thank you much.
John, thank you for sharing that, for leading your department and the great work that you do. Nothing that happens in the county is possible without great IT, and we're really thankful for you and Nathaniel and the whole team. Anything else from our county manager? Okay, with that, we'll move to item 7, commissioner comments. Are there any commissioner comments?
Two things
No,
I'd
sir.
just like to.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner. Apologies.
I'm just going to back up a little bit and thank Nathaniel. I can't imagine what kind of project, what you thought when you were told you were going to be in charge of this project to begin with. Because you had, like John said, you had to deal with elected officials and everyone throughout the entire county. So I'm going to remember that herding cats is an IT term. So thank you for that. That website really is an amazing way that our citizens connect with their government. So thank you for that doorway for our constituents to meet with us. So thank you. I love reading Doug's report every 2 weeks. And I usually have 3 or 4 things that I take out as I'm reading. And on Tuesday, my mind's deciding which one I'm going to talk about. So today I'm going to talk about the slash mulch site. We've been talking a lot about fire mitigation lately. And combined with the snowstorm that we had in late May, there were lots of broken branches. I bet all of you saw broken branches all over. Some of you probably had some in your own yard that were broken. And this mulch slash site is operated by county employees. It's for free. And our citizens can clean up their yard, they can clean up their broken branches and bring them to the site up on Caprice. And just listen to these numbers. So we had this big storm on May 21st. And this site was open on May 28th. They had 700 loads brought in. And on Monday, the 30th, which was Memorial Day, that's the day most people are out barbecuing, there were 360 loads brought in. And Commissioner Teal, you are going to get the award because District 1 responded to a large tree that fell on a resident's home in Pinery. So that would be in your district. And that was somebody from the Public Works Operations Department that responded. A huge tree fell on some resident's home in the Pinery. And that just gives you a little tip of information about the services that the employees in Douglas County providing our citizens to make this the best county in the entire state. So thank you, all the employees and the residents. That slash site is open, I think, into October. Is that right? I think it's October. That's I shouldn't be talking if I don't know the answer, but I think that's how it works. So thank you, everyone.
Any additional commissioner comments? Well, with that, our next business meeting will be held on Tuesday, June 28th, 2022 at 1:30 p.m. We're going to adjourn for today. Our land use meeting and public hearing will begin at 2:30. Thank you.